This is a video about change of directions in rope systems. When in a rope rescue do we use change of directions? The answer is all over the place. Basically, anytime we are using a pulley, we're causing a change of direction, but in rope systems, we really only talk about them when the pulley is attached to an anchor instead of back to the rope. And this is because change of directions can do funny things to the forces applied to those anchors. Most of the time, we select really strong anchors that can take way more force than they would see even in the event of a dynamic shock load. Think a big tree, an apparatus wheel, or a steel I-beam. But, and this is critical, and the reason for this video, sometimes our anchors are not bomber, and when they aren't, we need to be really cautious about when and how we build those anchors and choose to use change of directions. We may run into this in the backcountry when we use small trees or scrub brush, in the urban environment with an unknown strength component like an HVAC unit on a roof, or really any time we use the aerial with ropes. So, what do we need to know about change of directions? At some point, you've probably seen a diagram like this. Essentially, what these are trying to illustrate is that change of directions are force multipliers. Anytime a rope runs through a pulley, it puts force into that anchor as it runs into the pulley, and then also as it runs back out of it. This can be hard to conceptualize from just a picture, so let's join a video where I try to illustrate it a little more clearly.
Let's talk about change of directions. When we're building rope systems and we choose to place a change of direction into our system, it changes forces in places as we're building. We need to understand that. So I've built a little prop here to help illustrate this principle to you. For now, all I've got is a 25-pound weight sitting on a fish scale that'll register weight for us. As you can see, 25 pounds equals 25 pounds in a straight one-to-one. That makes sense. This will all change when we choose to put a change of direction in. Change of directions are full force multipliers. Before I move on, part of this applies to our aerial devices, and there's three systems that we allow on that. Our first one is a static crane. A static crane would look exactly like this, where we have a 300-pound basket sitting on the tip of that aerial, just with a hard tight 8 and a hard tight 8. That 300-pound basket equals 300 pounds sitting on our aerial device. Now I'm going to put in a pulley to make this a change of direction. Okay, so when I start lifting up now on the change of direction, as I apply force, it's going to take 25 pounds of force to lift the weight, as we just saw. But that 25 pounds of force, which translates up this way, takes some weight coming back down out of the pulley. If I was to take it, as I make my angle less and less, all the way to 180-degree bend, the force applied into this fish scale gets higher and higher. So the steeper that angle, the more force that's applied. So it doesn't really matter to us whether that weight is moving. Moving is more, but even as a static where it's sitting unmoving, you can still see that we're now sitting at a 90-degree angle here. We have more than 25 pounds sitting back on our fish scale.
So let's pause here for a second and return to our diagram. In the diagram, we can see that when a change of direction is at a 90-degree angle, like here, we expect to see about a 1.5 times force multiplication of that. So for this example, our 25-pound weight, we would expect to see about 37.5 pounds back onto that anchor, which is pretty close to what we see.
If I continue to widen that out, the forces continue to grow.
And now as we start to get into more of these acute angles, we need to figure just for simple numbers, as we move past 90, we're now into about the 2 times load. Here's an example of this one using rig right. As you can see, at this angle, we're pushing into that 2 times.
Once again, returning to our aerial discussion, and really it's bigger than just the aerial. Let's think about this in terms of anytime we have a marginal anchor. whether that's out in the backcountry or our aerial device, which is only rated to 750 pounds, we need to be really cautious about force multiplying into our system. When we put this pulley in, it becomes a force multiplier on the tip of our aerial. This would look very similar to either our mechanical advantage method or our dynamic crane method, where we put a pulley at the tip of our aerial. So rope's going to come in, change the direction. This is like what we would see on the tip of that aerial. If this is a 300-pound load at that 180 degrees, that might 2 times the load, and that's not accounting for any dynamic bouncing or anything like that. So that 300 pounds can become 600 pounds. This is why we do not recommend that you put a 2-person load on anything with a change of direction on our aerial devices. That 600 pounds could go up to 1,200 pounds, not accounting for dynamic forces. So be really careful when you choose to use this, even if it's in the backcountry and you want to put a change of direction and to change your haul field, maybe to get it back away from the edge. Just understand that you need to make sure you have a substantial anchor that's able to handle those forces.
I hope this video has given your brain a good picture of how change of directions can impact forces in our systems. As technicians, it is important that we understand the ramifications of the systems we are building. Some simple numbers to remember are that at 90 degrees we can expect a 1.5 times multiplication, and as we move to 0 degrees, or that 180 degree bend, that will move up to 2x, 2 times the load. Of course, every angle has its own math associated with that. I just want to give you simple numbers and focus on those two things. There are plenty of times when a change of direction should cause no concern to us, but when our anchors may be our weak point, we should exercise extreme caution and make sure we are understanding our decisions. If you want more explanation of our aerial systems and the forces and appropriate ways to build them, please see the in-depth videos on each of those in Vector Solutions.